With this video, I'm going to give you a better understanding of how the condition escort works. We're going to do this with the help of a concrete example. So we're going to take on the following task. We're going to program a signal for this, and as the signal, we would like to have a breakout out of the Donchian channel, as we can see, for example, here, or a breakout like this one, which can also very often be equated with a breakout from point 2. However, this signal should only apply if this breakout is located above the previous day's high. So if over here on the day chart, we're already above the high of the previous day. And in the 1 hour chart, the ADX14, so this is a trend indicator that shows trends in the market, is above 25 and is rising. Or the RSI 14 in the hour chart is also above 30 and also rising. So this is the complex requirement that we want to solve using the condition escort. The condition escort is a tool with which you can program signals, as well as with which stops and exit criteria can be programmed, all without needing any programming knowledge. Here we open the condition escort, New, and we'll assign a name here right away. We'll name the signal Donchian long. And we'll also configure this so that it's a long entry signal, and here that it's an entry signal, which is defined in this checkbox right here, entry signal. It can also be a stop and a target signal at the same time, but for now we'll use this signal just as an entry signal. To briefly explain this, here we have the selection box with the different criteria available for selection. So on the one hand, open series, high, low, close and volume. Then here we can find the indicators which are offered by the system. Here we can find all the conditions that have already been programmed within the condition escort. So here within conditions, you can again use other conditions. So basically conditions are encapsulated within each other. And here this selection criterion is used to compare values with indicators or with other values. And now we're going to approach the problem in an iterative manner. As a brief reminder, the Donchian channel consists of 2 lines, the upper and the lower line. And the line changes whenever the high of the last n candles, so depending on what settings you make, in our case we'll use 21. So when the high of the last 21 periods is broken by the high of the last candle. Right here, for example, this has happened. You can see that here this channel has been broken out of, and precisely at this point we want to receive a candle just like this. So it's also broken out upwards with the closing price. To describe this here in the condition escort, we need the following. We take the closed data series and drag it into this box here with the mouse. And we also need the Donchian channel. Here's the Donchian channel indicator, which we then drag into the second box. This means as soon as an indicator or a data series is clicked on here, then the parameter box also appears here immediately. Now we want to achieve the following, that the current close, the close of the current candle, is larger than the line of the previous period of the Donchian channel. And we said Donchian channel 21. And the close of the current candle should be higher than the upper line of the previous period. So we enter a 1 here. 0 is always the current period, 1 is the previous period, 2 is the one before this, and so on. Next, we want to make sure that it really is the first breakout from a sideways movement of the Donchian channel. For this, we use the Donchian channel again, drag it down here, and compare it with itself. Here we have the option to select various comparative operators, and here we'll say is equal to, creating the condition if the Donchian channel 21 is equal to the Donchian channel 21 from 2 periods ago, and here 1 period ago. And what we still have to do, because of course we want to consider the upper Donchian channel and not the lower one, is that here we also have to select the upper one. So the upper's been selected. Here again we select the upper, as well as here. With this we defined the first criterion of our complex signal, which is to say, if the current close is larger than the upper line of the previous period, and the previous period is equal to the period before that. So when we take a look here, for example, precisely this breakout is the one we would obtain with this condition. Also this breakout, and so on. In a second, we'll see how these signals are displayed here. Namely, we'll check this in the chart. We click on OK. The condition was found to be acceptable. And now to check this, we go here to the indicator dialog. And here we select Donchian long, which in the meantime has been added since we just activated it. New. We also assign a name, Donchian long. And here we can see the signals that would already be emitted by the system based on the current entry. So at each signal we see the first breakout after a sideways movement. And again, first breakout after a sideways movement. Close price is above the upper Donchian channel. Here a breakout from this sideways movement, and so on. As a further criterion, we defined that we only want to see the signals if they are located above the high of the previous day's candle. So right now we're in the candle of this day, in the AVP, and we only want to see signals if they're located above the high of the candle from the previous day. So when we look back here, we also have signals that are not above the high of the previous day's candle. For example here, so signals exactly like this would be filtered out. As long as it's not above the high, as we can see here, you often have the problem that such breakouts end at the high of the day and are then brought back. So we only want to see those signals that are above the previous day's high, for which we go back to ConditionEscort, Edit, Donchian long, our signal. Here we select the condition if the current close, we take it and drag it down, is larger than the high. And now we reach the point where we can also enter several time frames here. So if we don't enter a time frame here, then the only time frame considered is the one in which the signal is to be scanned. So when we place it here in the 5-minute chart, then it's scanned in the 5-minute chart, as long as here, within the time frame, it states empty. However, if we choose, in this case, let's say we want the current close price to be above the previous day's high, then here, of course, we have to enter a time frame. So 1 day. And with this, the daily candlestick is considered. We also want to see the candle from the previous day, so 1 candle back, and consequently this criterion is also filled. We verify it again, it's okay. And when we click on OK, the criterion is applied. With reload, we can reload the criterion. And when we now take a look back, then we can no longer see certain signals because they did not meet the criterion of having closed above the previous day's high, which you can recognize by this line. So basically here we try to add an additional quality criterion. So this condition is also okay. We also decided as a further criterion to be included in the signal that the ADX14 on an hourly basis is above 25 and rising. We can achieve this by doing the following: ConditionEscort, Edit, again Donchian long, We select the ADX14. Here we select the time frame, 1 hour. So if the ADX14 is larger than 25, namely on an hourly basis, and the next criterion is that the ADX is presently rising. We select it again, here as well, and say, if the ADX14 on an hourly basis is larger than the ADX14, also on an hourly basis, that is to say, if the current ADX14 is larger than the ADX14 from 2 periods ago. So bars ago, 2. This guarantees that the ADX has risen, at least within the last 2 periods. So we verify the result again. OK. Reload. And nothing has changed in the results, because this criterion is met very nicely here. The ADX is continuing to rise, and we're above 25. As a further criterion, we also want to include the following in this signal. That is, as we've previously done, to consider the ADX14, but also that we say either the ADX14 is in the positive range, so over 25 and rising, or we use the RSI 14 for this. So one of the 2 criteria has to be true in order for the overall criterion, i.e. the signal, to be correct. We guarantee this by doing the following. Here, for example, we can see that both are in the applicable area. So here we're above 25 in the ADX and it's rising. But here too, the RSI is also above 30 and is similarly rising. We go back to the ConditionEscort, edit, Donchi and long. So at the moment we have the following situation, that all of these criteria are true with an AND relation. So we can say, if this, and this, and this, and this, and this all apply, then the overall condition is true. But now we want to say, if either this or another criterion applies. And to do so, we have to go into the advanced mode. And here on the left and right, we can see selection lists. And using these selection lists, we can arrange these complex requirements. So, the criterion is true if this condition applies, and this condition applies, as well as this one here. And then here it starts. This is where it gets a bit complicated. In this selection list, we can see brackets, because here we have to create an order connection. And this has to be represented in brackets. We will actually select 2 brackets here right now, and why I'll show you just a little later. And we say if this condition is true, so if the ADX is larger than 25 and the ADX14 is larger than 2 periods ago, so is rising. And now this condition is concluded. We select or, and you can see here in this selection list we have and, or, as well as either or. Here we say or. We select the RSI. If the RSI 14 in 1 hour is larger than 30, and the RSI once again 1 hour, and here 1 hour, bars ago, so 2 periods ago. And by doing so, we've set up a similar situation as previously with the ADX. If these two conditions together both apply, then here we select 2 brackets again, thereby achieving the following situation. Here, 2 brackets are opened. These 2 conditions are condensed. Down here, one of the brackets is closed again. Here we still have to do this. Another bracket is opened here. So OR, open bracket, RSI 14, 1 hour, larger than 30, and RSI 14, 1 hour, larger than the RSI 14 from 2 periods ago on an hourly basis. And thus we've defined the criterion fully. Here we click OK. The syntax is correct. And with this, we've completely defined the Donchian long signal. So close. And to verify this, reload. And once again, nothing is changing at the moment, due to the fact that one of these 2 criteria is definitely true. In this case, actually both criteria. So we can see in the RSI on an hourly basis, above 30 and the RSI is rising, and the ADX is also above 25 and rising. Maybe just to support this, we should also take a look in the ConditionEscort, Donchian long, edit. And with regards to the RSI, you can see the following. Here we have these series. There are 2 series. That's the average and the default. In our case, we've chosen the average value. And this is the red line here. This is a moving average 3, and this flattens the RSI. And here we've enlisted it to define the rising RSI. So here, at every point where we've selected the RSI, you can see that this average, so this red line here, is taken into consideration. So now, of course, we also want to catch sight of this signal whenever it applies anywhere. To do so, we will go down to 1 minute. And we want to do the same here in the scanner. Edit columns. We select the Donchian long signal. Here we've set 1 minute, so we will receive signals frequently. We confirm with OK. And here a column has been added to the scanner, and already it's being scanned in real time. So here for this value, we already have precisely this state, that here we've broken out of a sideways movement of the Donchian channel, and all the other criteria are also met. As you can see here in the ADX, we are under 25 for this value, but the RSI is above 30, and for this reason the criterion is valid, and accordingly it's shown in the scanner. Now we have no more occurrences, the minute is already up. Now we can package the whole thing into a setup, i.e. into a strategy. To do so, we will open the setup escort. Here we can see the signal, Donchian long. We select it and go to configuration. Go back to Donchian long once more. And here it's advisable to choose a bar by bar stop as the initial stop, and also to choose a bar by bar stop as the hard trail stop. So if a breakout should occur, you would be well advised to trail behind the market very closely. If not necessarily on 1 minute, then at least on 5 minutes. It's definitely worth it, so that you can always pick up such short breakouts. A soft trail stop doesn't necessarily have to be used, since we already have a bar by bar stop as the hard trail stop. And we won't define a target for this either, since the stop will take us out as soon as the bar by bar stop is broken by the market. So, as soon as, at some point, the last green candle is broken through in a downwards direction, we're automatically out of the trade. So this is a possibility to trade with a breakout from a sideways movement or from a point 2, and to go directly into the movement with this. So this setup is defined, we apply and close, and it's now also in active mode. We now add the analyzer escort here, new, AE 1 minute, and we'll leave this at 1 minute. So there's a signal at CBG. We click on it and it's automatically, here you can see this is a breakout, a setup, so an entry order and a stop order, is automatically placed into the market. With this, we've constructed a strategy out of these complex signals in just a few steps. Now we can switch on the order. And from this moment on, as soon as the order is filled, this stop here will trail behind it bar by bar. So all in all, this condition escort in combination with the setup escort is a very elegant tool for constructing quite complex strategies with just a few clicks. When you have a bit of practice here, then you can do really great things with it.